Hi there. Welcome to SAMCAST. I'm Bob Humphrey with my co-host David Trahan, the Executive Director of the Sportsmen's Alliance of Maine, and really got a real treat today. Got a couple of the unsung heroes of the deer hunting world with us. I just finally had a chance to meet Susanne Hamilton and Lindsay Ware. I've heard so much about you folks. I have, for better or worse, had a lot of experience with Scott Klontz, who was just constantly mentioning your name, and a lot of times we'll stop in the middle of a blood trail and he'll say, I need to call and get some advice. So I've heard your voice through a cell phone before, but really excited to have you two here. And tell us what you do.
We track wounded large game for hunters to give closure, to find animals, sometimes to find that they're maybe fatally hit and to dispatch after hours, and on Sundays when it's not legal for them to do so.
Yeah.
But mostly just to give closure, you know. By the time people call us, something's already gone terribly wrong.
Sure.
And so oftentimes these animals will survive, as Lindsay mentioned earlier. When you've gone 2 miles and you go, this animal never laid down, we only have had muscle blood, you know, this is not an animal that lets us see it, and it's slowly fizzling out, we can probably tell you that you probably can sleep that night because it's not going to be a fatal hit that you just can't find.
I got a ton of questions, and they're all jumbling around in my head right now, but let's try to start with, I'm a deer hunter, I take a shot. At what point, what sort of things should I be thinking about whether or not I need to call in a tracker?
That's a good question. So it is always kind of a balance, and it's kind of like as you're taking in information about what happened. So did anything unusual happen? Did you see maybe a broken branch where maybe your arrow or the bullet has hit and has possibly deflected? Did anything go obviously awry? Or is there maybe some upcoming weather? All of a sudden, you know, you're giving that animal some time, and do you have an unexpected rain shower? Things like that. So there's certain things like that that immediately, if you know that something is just not that perfect situation, then you want to start thinking about, oh, maybe I should get in touch with somebody. Sometimes you don't know right away that you might need a tracker, right? Yeah. So maybe you think everything went really, really well. You're giving your animal the time. You have some sign right at the hit site. It looks good to you. You're like, okay, here we go. I'm going to track my animal. Things are looking up, and then, oh, there's not very much blood here anymore. Oh, geez, it took me a good 5 minutes in between blood spots to continue the trail. Oh, maybe I, you know, things are replaying in your head. Maybe I didn't hit it exactly where I thought I did. That can be also kind of starting to be a clue that, okay, maybe things didn't go 100% to plan. Maybe I need to start thinking about a tracker. Another thing is if the blood trail is very hard to continue, you have to start thinking about the balance. I want to try to look for my animal, but there's a certain point when you start to search that you're going to make things harder for a tracking team. So you want to start to think about, okay, I need to stop at some point, stop searching the area, stop tracking scent everywhere, and start calling my local tracker, and even just getting their opinion on it to start.
Okay,
you know?
so that was kind of my next question was, now I've decided to call, what do I do? Stop, get the heck out, mark it, and wait.
Mark it.
I was just going to mention that.
The key point that he just said is get out, because I've had personal experience with a tracker 2 or 3 times now, and in a minute I want to get back to when it was illegal to use trackers in Maine, because I was on the committee when this legislation, which allows it, has passed. But but getting out, and what I've found is that people start to get frantic. They're not finding their deer, and next thing they know, they're calling their friends. You got 4 or 5 people, and next thing you know, all the evidence of the shot's been trampled. My advice is, if you are not confident in your shot and you don't find much evidence, you're looking, it's getting late, you don't want it to get dark, make the call, because what I found is when I've called you, you've given me great advice, things to do before they get there. And oftentimes we can either find them before you get there or realize that we didn't shoot the animal.
Yes, absolutely. Marking is good. Taking a picture maybe of the area is good. Once you call a tracker, and let me just tell you that if it's been gridded up by a bunch of people, it can be devastating for an inexperienced dog. Ours are experienced, but yet, you say, well, they'll work it out, but I could help 2 other hunters at the same time,
Yes.
rather than like beating my dog up on this one track that's been just gridded to death. But also what I'd like to mention is, because we're going through the stages of what do I do, once you call a tracker, stay out. There's nothing worse than driving halfway to a track and if someone calls you, oh, found it, and then you might have messed things up more. You might have pushed the deer. I think it happens sometimes to us when we don't know it. Oh, we know it after we put the dog on it, that now it's been pushed yay far, that probably someone kept looking. It's nice to have a relationship with our hunters where once they commit to get a tracker in, that they trust us to just leave it be, because sometimes less is more and time is on your side.
Absolutely.
And to giving it that time is just it can be such a short track. 200 yards with no blood, you might not find it, but we do. Versus now you pushed it another 600 yards. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So to back up one step, I know for me and probably a lot of other hunters are very hesitant to make that call.
Yes.
Because we think, okay, this is my responsibility. I messed up. I should fix it. These people, they're running all over the state at all hours of the night. The last thing I want to do is bother somebody and drag them out in the woods. But my experience with Scott has been, I'll be there. I want to get my dog on that track. I want to get him some experience. So what put us at ease about making that phone call?
So the first thing is that if we're putting our number out there, if we're on the list, if we're on our social media with our phone numbers there saying call us if you need help, that means that you are not a bother to us. So if we're here doing these sorts of things, hopefully that is good reassurance that this is something that we are very passionate about doing, and we want people to feel comfortable calling us. We don't want to be inaccessible to anybody, and we want to be able to help as many people as possible. And I don't know how to describe tracking. I guess when I'm taking on a new tracker and I'm mentoring them, I guess the way I describe it is that, there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs, and it's, you're going to be tired and you're going to get wet and you're going to get cold. And the way that you keep persevering is because you're so passionate about it. Like when you're a tracker, you're a tracker. And so that's the type of people that you're dealing with Scott and with us. And we know Scott.
Well, that's
Scott,
awesome.
Is a close friend of ours, and that's what you're getting from him when you are getting that. When he's saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to come out," because it's like, picture how you feel about hunting. That's how we feel about tracking, right? Like that's our little niche. That's something that we're passionate about. That's something that we'll lose sleep over. That's something that we'll spend all hours doing. So
I want to back up for a second when it wasn't legal to use a tracker in Maine, and I remember the discussion as a legislator and then as SAM lobbyist. There was a lot of opposition to using trackers, and what they were saying was that, wow, we don't want people in the woods with guns at night, and there'll be every redneck out there with a dog, and before you know it, they're killing deer that haven't been wounded. Not a single thing materialized. you have been amazing ambassadors for trackers. And I want to mention this because for me, when I was a lawmaker, it was the policy of, we as sportsmen, we call ourselves conservationists. Sam does. That's on our website everywhere we go. There's an element of conservation here where you have this precious resource, a deer that may be 6 or 7 years old, survived multiple winters, coyotes. That's an amazing animal. And I think you're honoring both the theme of conservation as well as honoring the life of that animal when you do everything in your power to find it. And you filled that niche in an amazing way. You're just so credible. And I really do appreciate it because all those naysayers and bomb throwers in the beginning were all wrong.
Well, it's our ethical obligation as hunters to try to exhaust every possibility to recover the animal once we draw blood. And you folks certainly make it a lot easier. And David mentioned something that sparked a thought. A lot of people, you have to be tested, certified, you have official credentials as licensed trackers. Probably a fair number of people, their first step might be take the household pet out. She'll find it.
Absolutely.
So tell us why that's a bad idea. I think we know the answer, but
so many levels. Well, for one, your household pet sometimes does find a deer, but it doesn't prepare it for what's really going on in tracking with animals that are smart, that do backtracks, they jump, they play little tricks on you, and now you're contaminating the entire area, not just with with your own footprints, but now with a pet on top of it. It's a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, I think you're also incentivizing the pet. You're going to be praising it. You're going to be rewarding it for chasing down a deer.
Then it may not even be on a leash. And
that's
I'm
right.
protective of our law. That thank you so much. You fought for.
Yeah, that's right.
It was amazing because the law got passed. I think the year I got my dog, and it was so cool that it had already happened in Maine. My organization that I'm president of, the United Blood Trackers, started fighting. Started helping. I was fighting. Started helping hunters with the legislature to help turn states into legal tracking states. Because at the time that we started organization, well, my friends did, I came a little later, there were 17, including Maine, 17 legal states in the country, and the organization took on what you did for Maine to help people all over the country, and we're currently at 45 legal states. And I want to say that in Europe, any organized hunt has to have a tracker on call the way that you have a medic at a sports event. It's just law.
Interesting.
And it makes absolutely no sense not to have that.
Yeah. Well, I really do appreciate what you do, the fact that you're so professional the way that you do it. I just think you're great ambassadors, and so for whatever it's worth, the resource appreciates it. I know as sportsmen we appreciate it. I think now you've been on, 1, 2, 3, where I've been on scene, and in all cases it worked out the right way. And so thank you for doing such a good job.
Some people call us addicts.
well, you are literally and figuratively professionals.
Yes.
You have credentials, but you also have a ton of experience. And when it comes to tracking, that can make a huge difference. People that just blood trail on their own, the more experience you get, you start to recognize certain things. But expand on that a little bit.
Well, so if you think about hunters and what they're preparing for all the time, they're doing a lot of, it's all before the shot, right? They're scouting, they're learning about the animals in their area, they're practicing with their bow or with their rifle. And that's all stuff that they can put time aside and practice and work on. But it's very hard to practice after the shot unless you're doing something like a ton of guiding, or in our case, tracking, right? Yeah. And so because of that, that's our specialty, and we see it over and over and over. So it's just very hard. Like our hunters are amazing at what they do. And you know, if you said, "Oh, look at this big mature buck that lives in this area, Lindsay, you should hunt it and learn about it and see if you could." I couldn't do that. I'm not a hunter. I'm not a hunting expert. I mean, I've done some hunting, but that is not what I have spent hours and hours and hours like learning how to do. That's our hunter's wheelhouse, and they're so good at it. Mm-hmm. We are the specialists in what happens afterwards, and we see it over and over and over. And some of the more avid trackers, like Susanne and I, Scott, and several other trackers, we're seeing this hundreds of times a season. Mm-hmm. So most hunters, things don't go wrong very often, right? So they're only usually things go very smoothly. So even in their lifetime, they're not typically seeing as many of these other situations where things don't go exactly to plan that we are. We're seeing more than they would see in most people's lifetimes in a weekend, probably, right? So it's just that specialization that helps us learn about these animals. And I gotta mention, we're still learning. We still learn about these
call each other
amazing animals because it's so nuanced.
I'm glad you used the word specialist. I would use the word professional. You think about what you do. You are going out in the dark, you're carrying a firearm, you have a dog, you're moving through the woods, and you're doing it safely. One of the fears that I had when I was with you is trying to keep up, getting a stick in the eye or twisting an ankle. But you moved at quite the pace, and you did it professionally, and you didn't get hurt, and the people that were with you, you're in a pretty dangerous situation when you're in the woods in the dark.
I think the responsibility for our hunters also, that's a big thing. We've since learned a lot about it when we both got our guide's license, and it really, for me personally, was eye-opening. And back in the olden days, I just had people try to keep up, and now I'm probably more mindful at this point. Mm-hmm. You know, like I said, we learn all the time.
Well, you do a great job, and I know we appreciate what you do, and I've seen what you do firsthand. And I would call you professionals, and I'm glad that you're out there expanding and teaching. And
I think what's important to mention is a lot of times, we have a lot of people that are interested in becoming trackers, and we're all about it, very encouraging about it. We would prefer, other than taking the pet out, to maybe really spend a season or so apprenticing. Mm-hmm. And we have people who take this very seriously. Yes. We're very dedicated with that. And we're not talking about a track. We're talking about season. Take a season and go with a mentor tracker. Because like we said before, being an experienced hunter doesn't make you an experienced tracker. Just like an experienced tracker, I'm not a hunter at all.
I can't imagine how exhausted you must be at the end of the season.
I'm beat up, but I love it.
Well, okay, so this is a partnership, though. There's another element involved besides just you. The dog is a big part of this. Talk about your dogs. I've tracked deer in Alabama and Texas and Maine and other places. Seems like there's different preferences. You have these little wiener dogs.
Oh, they're adorable. They're
Those are preferences for sure.
Why?
She's the one that got me into them, so she can answer that question.
It's from watching those old cowboy movies when they said, "Get along, little doggy."
Yeah, I think there's no wrong hunting breed to do this. I get pulled around by my 16-pound dog, and I don't need a 40-pound dog to do that. Mm-hmm. That would be devastating to my body, and it's you said it. Just trying to keep up. Now imagine a bigger one. For me, the small one is great. Also, if I had a larger dog, I wouldn't be able to carry it out of the woods. And we take so many tracks that these little guys, they recharge like wind-up toys. Yeah. Like, go on a track, chuck them under the armpit, walk them out of the woods, and we get a call, and they're energized for the next one. It's really great.
There is also another risk that you take that I appreciate, especially in southern Maine, in mid-Maine. There's a lot of ticks. you must come home.
Oh yeah, we do.
Oh, and so what you put up with, we appreciate that as well. I got this mullet on top of my head that
Yeah.
the ticks seem to love to go there for
Yeah,
their.
yeah.
But you must encounter a lot of ticks.
I've been lucky. You've been lucky. You've been pretty lucky. You have a bug on
With
it.
ticks?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we get them attached to each other,
Yeah.
to ourselves a lot, but
Haven't
yeah.
had
But you're
Lyme's
tough.
or anaplasmosis.
You're tough to put up with
Yeah.
that. Some people, they run the other way.
Right.
But you do a lot that people don't see.
Yes.
when
we do.
and you commit to a lot that maybe risks that others don't take. And for that, we owe you, and we say thank you.
What are some of the craziest experiences you've
I was
had?
going to ask that question as well.
Unexpected. You were tracking a deer or a moose or a bear, but you encounter something totally anything that comes to mind.
We've had many things happen to us, and I want to just go back once more to what you said about the other breeds. If I lived in the South, where off-leash tracking is a thing, I would probably also run larger dogs. Because they're less likely to get killed and injured by something. So
Yeah.
I wanted to say that. I wanted to mention that just because you're asking what my preference is. In this state, we have a leashed tracking law. We take it very serious. We don't want people letting their dogs loose. We don't want dog get injured, people get injured. We don't want someone to complain about what you worked for to create for us. So we're very protective of that leash law. Just want to mention, crazy stuff. She's been rolled by a moose. She can tell you about that.
Been rolled
Yeah,
by
so
a moose.
it lays into you're talking about like dangerous risks, things like that. Moose, we probably have some stories that are a little bit more wild in that they're a little bit more lighthearted. This is a little bit more on the serious side, but moose are, any animal that's wounded is a risk.
Yeah.
And whenever you're out in the woods, you have to be mindful of safety. But moose are, in our experience, the most likely to just kind of hold their ground and charge. Even more so than bears. Bears actually figure out pretty quick that the dog is on a leash and slow and really want to get away from you for the most part. Moose have a strong aversion to dogs. Instinctually, their reaction to encountering a dog that's
a wolf.
tracking them is to stomp them, right? So this makes us at higher risk, and we have a very high percentage of wounded moose that are not dead yet charging us,
Yes.
very high. Percentage-wise, moose are the thing that we track the least, but we are consistently charged by them. So
We say 9 out of 10 that are alive will at least look in our direction, go in our direction.
Yeah, wow.
And not
bluff
a friendly
charge.
Or
look.
bluff charge.
Oh yeah, usually it's some kind of a display, but it can also be a bluff charge or an actual charge. So I did get charged by moose several years back, and one advantage of having the little dog is that actually when the moose came at us, I was able to kind of go down into the moss and cover my dog. My dog went right underneath me, and the moose went right over us and kicked us a bit. I was okay, got very lucky, just bruised, and I had a very competent guide with me that was able to quickly euthanize the moose. But it's kind of an
That
example.
almost brought a tear to my eye when you said about covering your dog. I'm holding it back right now. That is a mom's reaction, or a
They're
I don't
everything.
know.
we
What
do.
I don't know what
Yeah.
I would do in that situation, but
They're everything
that's
to us.
heavy.
They're the tracking dogs, and I think everyone that has hunting dogs can probably relate to this. Is that it's not something that you use. It's like it's a partnership, and
It's your friend, really.
yeah, it's your friend, and you live like your whole, especially in the fall, but like all the time. But our lives revolve around them, really. And Jean Jeannet, who literally wrote the book on tracking wounded game in North America, he's one of the founders of United Blood
My
Trackers.
mentor. Amazing.
He's
amazing
passed away
man.
now, but one of the things, one of my very favorite quotes from him, things he used to say, is that that the dog is not a tool or a toy. They're your partners, and you're giving each other advice, and you each bring something to the table that the other one doesn't have. And so that's, like, I love that quote because it kind of wraps up how it is to work side by side with a dog like that. And so yeah, we have other stories too from other trackers of, you know, doing everything they can to keep their dogs safe and protecting them from the situation.
I know you two have time constraints, and we need to cut this short, unfortunately, but promise me that we can have you on again.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah,
And
that'd be fun.
like David said, bless you so much for what you do. You're unsung heroes. I want to hear more stories. Maybe 10% of the questions got out now. If you're watching this podcast and you have questions about tracking dogs, go on to the SAM Facebook page or email us, send them the questions, and we'll compile them for the next time that we can get these two fine folks on the podcast. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.